say in your time.
The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to St. Mark.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
And James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came up to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What do you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory." Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized?" And they said to him, "We are able." And Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." And when the 10 heard it, they became indignant at James and John. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came to be served. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of... We're in Psalm 91. It's our second, but because of its implications, it's also about Jesus. So it's a psalm that looks forward. This psalm, Psalm 91, is perhaps the most quoted and referenced psalm for soldiers in times of war, for first responders, for people in the wake of natural disasters. This was the psalm quoted by the president during the pandemic for our safety. Psalm 91 is a psalm that over and over again talks about our ability to dwell or to have a stronghold or to entrust ourselves or to place ourselves in a refuge or a dwelling. You hear all the house language, the coming around language. Our series has an umbrella on the cover of your bulletin to evoke that notion that over and over again in our lives when there's danger, we run for cover. We try to find a place of safety. So there are three aspects to this that I want to go over with you. The psalm perspective of the king. 3 to verse 13, the prophet is speaking, and the prophet is saying, "You will," or "this will not." And then the last 3 verses of this passage actually come from God's voice. And so if you look at this psalm, there is the perspective of the king who's gaining confidence from looking back. There's the perspective of the prophet who's allowing us to gain confidence as we look forward. And then there's the perspective of God who allows us to have confidence as we look up to him and he comes down to us. So the writer's brilliant because he's trying to say, God's got all bases covered. He's got you. Are you going to trust in him? Are you going to entrust yourself to him? Are you going to run to him in trouble? But I forewarn you, this passage has a cut when Jesus is forward and then God looking down. First looking back. The defense, "You are my refuge and my stronghold." I don't know when he wrote it. He could have wrote it when he was still living in a tent, waiting for his palace to be built. He could have written it when he had his palace built and he'd gone off to war. But we know David wrote this, and David's looking back. He's saying, "Hey, God, when I look at how I got here, it's only because of you. Remember the story. Let's go back and look at David. He's the one who is so disregarded in his family that they have him doing menial labor of taking care of the sheep. And when Samuel comes to anoint a future king, because God told him to go to the house of Jesse in Bethlehem, Samuel thinks it's the tall guy, the firstborn. Then he goes to the secondborn. Then he goes to all the sons. And then he says, none of these the Lord has chosen. Which should I choose? Do you have any other sons? And Jesse says, oh yeah, as almost as an afterthought, there's David. He's out in the fields with the sheep. And then Jesse brings David in front of Samuel, and David's life changes. All of a sudden, he's the impervious one. He's the one who has, the flak jacket. He's got the shield. He's got the map. The Israelites are at war with the Philistines. And when David brings lunch to his brothers, he's not even old enough to be a soldier to war. He hears Goliath mocking Israel, mocking God. And what does David say? How dare he do this? I'll fight him. And everyone laughs at him. And he convinces them to let him put on the armor. And when he puts on the armor, wear this. And so he takes a river rock and a sling. And David goes and slays thousands. And